As you know, just finished up a game of Imperial. Um, this is, without a doubt, my favorite Euro game that I've seen. It's a combination of, because it's got a military theme, it's a little heavier, it's really, really well tied to that theme. Nothing feels like it's at all out of place. So, let's think about the components. One weird thing about it is everything's double-sided, German and English, including the map. That's a little wasteful, but overall the components are absolutely gorgeous. Um, Wooden pieces in shapes that are understandable. You got little cannons and boats. The bond cards are wonderfully thick, sturdy pieces of cardboard. The money, hey, paper money bonus, man. Uh, you know, we just come from different places, the Euro players and myself. But I like paper money. Why do I like it? Because I feel like I'm playing with money, not with chips. The money isn't fantastic. It's not the most beautiful money in the world, but it's very sturdy, very functional, and I think it works fine. So what's so great about the theme? Well, let's start with the fact that it looks like diplomacy. You open up the board and you think, ooh, I'm going to play diplomacy, which is immediately a big plus for anyone of my generation who was a serious gamer, as opposed to these people who have kind of come to the hobby since settlers. It looks as though somebody took a game of diplomacy, and I'm sure this is what happened, and thought about, wow, 1830 is a great game. Can I combine the two? Came up with the concept of the investment in companies in that time period, and how much power, or in countries, and how much power these worldwide investment conglomerates had, and have today still, but in this particular period is where you have like the Trilateral Commission and stuff like that, which really, really influenced the behavior of the nations before World War I. Obviously, they would have rather not seen a war, but in order to spark the proper conflicts for the game, this is what you have. So, the actual mechanics of the game are very, very simple. The rule book is exactly the right level, I think, for how simple the game is. It may actually be a little too long, but it's very clearly written, and I don't know how much shorter it could be made, actually. The game is driven by the rondel. And basically each country, when it takes a turn, gets to move up to 3 spaces on here, and then take the action that's listed there. And you can push that to more than 3 spaces, up to 6 if you're willing to pay $2 a space, which you see in the game that I just finished. At the end of the game becomes more and more valuable, because you know you can make more money at the end of the game if you push it to one more taxation or one more investment or whatever. Doing that throughout the game might be valuable. I don't like to do that because I like to know that I'm going to get X from an action. If you push your country too hard, a country that you're running too hard, you may find that you're not able to take those advantages throughout the whole game, that you spent personal cash to wear your country out, which is kind of a bad move. There's not a lot of diplomacy in it, actually. My first online game with it, I got kind of laughed at because basically there were 3 of us playing. 2 people, myself and one other, were newbies, and the guy who was used to the game was laughing because basically he and I were trying to convince the other new player on what to do, and we were really, doing a lot of table talk diplomacy, and he said, I've never seen it like that. Well, that happens in almost all games that I've been in. My group used to be very heavy on that. Oh no, you don't want to do that. That's going to help him. Right. Okay. I have not yet figured out the game, in the sense that I feel like I figured out 1830. I haven't played a lot of games of it with other people, which definitely hinders being able to understand the game fully. But it seems to have the same kind of decision making in terms of you have to decide what you think is going to be valuable later on by your plays. So you buy or sell, as it is, the bonds that you think you can make more valuable. That's the early part of the game. Later on it becomes much more clear what's a deal and what's not. Big difference in this, you can't dump your bonds. You buy them, you're into that country for the rest of the game. So that's a little different than the 18XX, where if you make, not a mistake, but if you see something starting to go down the toilet, you can divest. In this, you've got to try to influence events to change that. Now, on the other hand, in this game, it's much, much easier to influence those events. If you have control of a country or two, you can help a country that you have shares in, other than those other countries. You definitely have to watch what other people have and where their nest is feathered, as it were. Otherwise, they may well be running away on the work that you're doing. And we saw that in this game, in the game I was playing, where the guy who won the game actually was not the one who was holding the most shares of the country that ended up on top. I've found that this really hits the sweet spot for me. If I want something kind of light, and I know for Euro players this is kind of heavy, but if I want something kind of light, fast moving, and that after I play it, I very often want to play it again. This was one that definitely, I'd play it and immediately, wow, I think I did this a little wrong, I want to try it this way, or whatever. So this is the kind of game that I will want to play immediately after I've played it. Another game that I can think of that's very similar to that, the only one that I can think of that has the same feel as often, is Azure Wishes La Révolution Française, which is a badly flawed game, but it has that same sort of addictive quality. This is in contrast with what I just played, High Frontier, which I walked away from saying, I'm not sure I ever want to play this again. Just because the effort was higher than the value that I got out of this. With this, the effort in the game is very, very low. The actual mechanics are very, very simple. But the imagery that it brings out, and for me that's huge. That's where theme is important. That's where what's going on the board is of some value to me. I'm here able to imagine, these are World War I countries, and there's a fight here, and I can, get a good picture of what's happening and what the diplomacy that's going on because of these bonds that I'm buying is forcing, and how I'm degrading the countries by making them do what I want for my business or whatever. And that kind of thinking just excites me. Thinking about a spaceship trying to hit where I've pre-calculated that it could hit doesn't. Or the thought of, instead of figuring it all out, we'll just shoot it up there and see what we can get to. Which obviously is not how to play that game, but so it just the particular way. The flavor of this game is exactly what I like, and if I'm going to play something that doesn't take a lot of effort, this is up there. Another one that I'd say is kind of similar to this, but a little heavier, I think a little denser, and a little harder to to get to that imagination level is Revolution, the Dutch Revolt, the Dutch colony, or whatever, I don't remember what it's called. But it's called Revolution, the Dutch something. If I'm not going to play something that's very, very historical feeling, I want it to be on this kind of level where it's very simple, but it still has that good link. Age of Napoleon was similar too, where not a lot of cost to playing it, but a fairly good payoff in terms of what I get from imagery. About the same kind of payoff that I get really from a serious war game for that. Anyway, less detail, obviously. Alright, that's it for this one, and I don't know if I want to keep doing these separate reviews on such late games.